In the deepest sub-basement of the Pentagon, there is a division known only as Sector 4. It is a place of blue light and cold air, where the hum of supercomputers never stops. Here, the United States' most advanced cyber warfare specialists fight silent battles against invisible enemies. They are the best of the best, young, brilliant, arrogant, and untouchable. And then, there was Arthur. Arthur was the ghost of Sector 4, but not the kind of ghost the soldiers feared. He was the kind you looked right through. He was 70 years old, with a back curved like a question mark, and hands that shook with a constant, subtle tremor. He wore a gray jumpsuit that was 2 sizes too big, and he pushed a yellow mop bucket with a squeaky wheel that echoed down the classified hallways. To the brilliant young officers, Arthur was just the janitor. He was the background noise. He was the man who emptied the trash bins filled with confidential shredding. He was the man who wiped the coffee stains off the white conference tables. Lieutenant Miller, the section's rising star, liked to use Arthur as a prop for his jokes. Miller was 26, a prodigy from MIT who had written code that could shut down a power grid in Moscow. He wore his uniform like a tuxedo and treated the support staff like furniture. "Watch your feet, Arthur," Miller would sneer, not even looking up from his tablet as the old man mopped near his boots. "Don't get that dirty water on my Italian leather. These shoes cost more than your car." Arthur would stop, his head bowed low, hiding eyes that were a pale, watery blue. "Sorry, Lieutenant," he would whisper, his voice raspy, like dry leaves scraping together. "I'll be careful." "You do that," Miller would laugh, kicking the wet floor sign out of his way. "Try not to unplug the internet while you're down there, Grandpa." The other officers would chuckle. It was the daily ritual. Mock the old man, feel superior, go back to saving the world. But they didn't know. They didn't look at Arthur's hands when he wasn't holding a mop. They didn't notice that the tremor stopped completely when he was still. And they certainly didn't notice the faint white scar that ran from his hairline down to his jaw, a scar hidden by the deep wrinkles of age. Arthur wasn't just cleaning the floors. He was listening. It was a Tuesday when General Sterling arrived. General Marcus Sterling was a man of iron and stone, the commander of Cyber Command. He didn't visit the sub-basements often. When he did, it meant something big was happening. The room snapped to attention. Miller straightened his tie, puffing out his chest. He was eager to present his new firewall algorithm, the Aegis. "At ease," Sterling barked, walking past the rows of glowing terminals. He looked tired. "We have chatter. Massive data spikes coming from a server farm in Eastern Europe. Intelligence suggests a zero-day weapon is about to be deployed. I want to know if we're ready." Miller stepped forward, his smile confident. "General, with respect, my Aegis system is impenetrable. It learns, it adapts. Let them throw whatever they want at us. We'll eat it for breakfast." Sterling nodded, but his eyes wandered. He was looking at the corner of the room, where Arthur was quietly emptying a recycling bin. For a split second, the general frowned, as if he recognized something, a shape, a posture. But then Arthur turned his back, hunching over his work, and the moment passed. "Don't get cocky, Lieutenant," Sterling warned. "The enemy has been quiet for too long. Silence usually precedes the storm." As if on cue, the storm broke. It didn't start with an explosion. It started with a sound, a low, discordant screech from the main speakers. Then the wall of monitors, 50 screens high, flickered. The blue lights of the server room turned a sickly, pulsing red. Alert. Breach detected. Firewall compromised. Miller laughed nervously. "It's a glitch. Aegis is cycling. Watch, it'll quarantine the threat in 3 seconds. 3 seconds passed. Then 10. The red lights didn't stop. They intensified. Access granted. Root level control lost. "Lieutenant," Sterling's voice was a whip crack. "What is happening?" Miller was typing furiously, sweat instantly beading on his forehead. I don't know, sir. It bypassed the handshake protocol. It didn't even knock on the door. It just walked in. It's rewriting the kernel code." "Shut it down," Sterling roared. "Pull the plug."
"I can't!" Miller screamed, his voice cracking. "It's locked me out! It's accessing the nuclear launch codes, General! It's targeting our own silos!" The room descended into chaos. Officers were shouting, running between terminals. Sirens began to wail, a deafening klaxon that signaled a DEFCON 1 event. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. This wasn't just a hack. This was an execution. In the middle of the panic, nobody noticed the yellow mop bucket stop moving. Nobody noticed Arthur stand up, really stand up. His spine uncurled. The hunch vanished. He grew 2 inches taller. He took a rag from his pocket and wiped his hands. His movements precise, deliberate, and terrifyingly calm. Miller was panicking. His fingers were slipping on the keyboard. "It's eating the encryption! 60 seconds to launch authorization! Oh God! Oh God!" A hand reached out and grabbed Miller's shoulder. It wasn't a gentle touch. It was a grip of steel. "Move." The voice wasn't the raspy whisper of the janitor. It was a command, deep, resonant, and cold as ice. Miller spun around, ready to scream at whoever interrupted him. He found himself looking into the face of Arthur, but the watery blue eyes were gone. In their place were eyes of flint, sharp and burning with intelligence. "Arthur, get the hell away from—" Arthur didn't argue. He didn't shove. He simply applied pressure to a nerve cluster on Miller's shoulder. The lieutenant's arm went numb, and he stumbled back, gasping in shock. Arthur stepped up to the main terminal. The janitor didn't look at the keyboard. He looked at the code scrolling down the screen, a waterfall of malicious red data. "What are you doing?" General Sterling shouted, reaching for his sidearm. "Security! Arrest this man!" "Don't," Arthur said. He didn't shout, but his voice cut through the sirens. He began to type, and that was when the room went silent. Arthur didn't type like the young officers, with their frantic, clacking keystrokes. He typed with a rhythm. It was a blur of motion, his fingers moving so fast they seemed to vibrate. The tremor was gone. He's using command line interface," one of the junior officers whispered in horror. "He's not using the GUI. He's coding in raw machine language." "Security!" Sterling barked again, drawing his weapon. "Step away from the console!" "General, wait!" The shout came from Major Chen, the oldest cryptography expert on the team. She was staring at the main screen, her mouth hanging open. "Look at the syntax!" Chen pointed, her hand shaking. "Look at the code he's writing! It's not modern script! It's Omega!" General Sterling froze. "Omega? That's impossible! Omega is a myth! It's the ghost code used during the Cold War to dismantle the Soviet satellite network! The man who wrote it died 20 years ago!" Arthur kept typing. His eyes darted across the screens.
Miller opened the notebook. It was filled with handwritten notes, corrections, improvements, advanced algorithms, scribbled in the margins of Miller's own discarded printouts. "You," Miller stammered, tears welling in his eyes. "You were helping me? After everything I said?" "The mission comes first, Lieutenant," Vance said sternly. "Egos get people killed. Humility keeps them alive. You have talent, son, but you think you're above the grime. You think because you sit in a chair, you're better than the man who scrubs the floor." Vance pointed a calloused finger at Miller's chest. "Every person in this building serves, from the general to the janitor. If the floor is dirty, someone slips. If someone slips, a code is missed. If a code is missed, soldiers die. Never forget that." Miller hung his head. "Yes, sir. I'm sorry, sir." "Don't apologize to me," Vance said. "Apologize to the work." General Sterling stepped forward. "Colonel, with your cover blown, we can't let you go back to the MOP. We need you. Command needs you." Vance looked around the room. He saw the awe in the faces of the young soldiers. He saw the red lights turn to green. He looked at his shaking hands. The tremor was returning now that the adrenaline was fading. "My time is done, Marcus," Vance said quietly. "I'm an analog clock in a digital world. I just stepped in to wind the gears one last time." He picked up the handle of his mop bucket. "But," Vance added, a twinkle in his eye, "I suppose I could stay on as a consultant, provided I don't have to wear a tie, and Miller keeps his feet out of my way." The room erupted in laughter, relief mixed with respect. From that day on, Sector 4 changed. Alexander Vance didn't take an office. He set up a desk in the corner, right next to the server racks. He didn't wear a uniform. He wore a cardigan and comfortable shoes. But when he spoke, generals listened. Lieutenant Miller became his shadow. He stopped wearing expensive suits and started working late, learning from the master. He learned that code wasn't just math, it was art, and it was responsibility. And every new recruit who entered Sector 4 was given the same advice on their first day. It wasn't about security protocols or password management. Respect everyone, especially the ones you think don't matter, because you never know who is holding them up. It's a lesson we all need to remember. In a world obsessed with titles, followers, and appearances, it's easy to dismiss the quiet ones, the ones who serve in the shadows, the ones who do the dirty work. But true power doesn't need to shout. True value doesn't need to be polished. Sometimes, the greatest heroes among us are the ones cleaning up our messes, waiting for the moment when the world needs them to drop the mop and save the day. So the next time you walk past a janitor, a waitress, or a bus driver, look them in the eye, smile, say thank you, because you have no idea what battles they have fought or what greatness lies hidden beneath the surface. If this story gave you chills, or if you believe that respect is something everyone deserves, regardless of their job, hit that like button. It helps us share this message with the world. Have you ever misjudged someone based on their appearance? Or have you ever been the one underestimated? I read every single story you share. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a story. Until next time, remember, not all heroes wear capes. Some wear jumpsuits. Stay safe and stay kind.
"They're using a polymorph virus," Arthur said, speaking to the room as if he were briefing a squad. "It mimics your defense and eats it. Miller, your firewall was too rigid. You tried to build a wall. You don't build a wall against water. You build a drain." "Who are you talking to?" Miller stammered, clutching his numb arm. "I'm talking to the virus," Arthur replied. He hit the enter key with a final, decisive strike. On the giant screen, the red waterfall stopped. It froze. Then slowly, line by line, it began to turn green. Threat isolated. Launch sequence aborted. Countermeasures deployed. Arthur didn't stop. "Now," he whispered, "let's see who sent you." The room watched in stunned silence as Arthur dismantled the most sophisticated cyberweapon in history in under 2 minutes. He traced the signal back through a dozen proxy servers, Shanghai, Moscow, Caracas, stripping away their digital masks until a single GPS coordinate appeared on the screen.
Gotcha, Arthur murmured. He tapped a final command. Package delivered. What did you just do? General Sterling asked, his gun now lowered, hanging loosely at his side. Arthur turned around. For the first time, he looked General Sterling in the eye, and in that moment, the general saw it. He saw the way the man stood, he saw the scar, and he realized why the janitor had looked so familiar. I sent a feedback loop to their power source, Arthur said calmly, wiping his hands on his jumpsuit. Their server farm just melted, physically. They won't be hacking anyone for a long time. Sterling took a step forward, his face pale. It can't be. Vance sighed. He reached up and peeled off the fake gray mustache he had worn for 5 years. He straightened his collar. Hello, Marcus, Arthur said. General Sterling dropped his gun. It clattered loudly on the floor. The general, the man of iron and stone, snapped his heels together and threw up a salute so sharp it could have cut glass. Colonel Vance, Sterling choked out. My God, we buried you. Arlington, 2005. I was a pallbearer. The room gasped. The name Vance rippled through the older officers. Vance, Miller whispered to Major Chen. Who is Vance? You idiot, Chen hissed, staring at the old janitor with awe. That is Colonel Alexander Vance, the architect. He invented Cyber Command. He wrote the foundational code for the entire Internet security protocol. He's the father of modern warfare. Vance, Colonel Vance, returned the salute slowly. At ease, Marcus. I'm retired. Mostly. But why? Sterling asked, his voice trembling with emotion. Why the mop? Why the janitor suit? Why have you been cleaning my floors for 5 years? Vance walked over to his mop bucket. He looked at it with a strange affection. Because I had to disappear, Vance said. After the 05 breach, the syndicate put a price on my head. Not just me, my family, my daughter. To keep them safe, Alexander Vance had to die. I needed to be somewhere nobody would look, somewhere I could still watch over the network I built, but where I would be invisible. He looked at Miller, who was shrinking into the corner. And there is no one more invisible in this world, Vance said softly, than an old man with a mop. Miller felt the eyes of the entire room on him. He looked at the man he had mocked every day for 3 years, the man whose shoes he had complained about, the man he had called Grandpa. Vance walked over to Miller. The lieutenant flinched, expecting a strike, or at least a reprimand. Instead, Vance reached into the pocket of his oversized jumpsuit and pulled out a small, tattered notebook. He tossed it to Miller. Your Aegis code, Vance said. It was elegant, beautiful structure. But line 405 had a syntax error. I fixed it for you last night while I was emptying your trash.